overdose is going to get on committee more than likely. We just need you to buffer that and reach out to your House lawmakers to get this act on a floor vote. Reach out to them. Please tell them your stories. They're a great group of people. We've got the best lawmakers, I think, in the country. They're extremely compassionate to this issue. They've listened to our stories. They've looked at us with compassion and empathy, and they've heard us, and they continue to hear us. And I actually believe that we're going to be the first state in the nation to pass this absolutely crucial law. So thank you very much. And our first speaker today, right there, is Ashley Perry, who is the Pawtucket program manager at Project Weber Radio.
So I want to tell you all a little bit about my work and the people that I work with. So I work for an organization called Project Weber Renew, which is a peer-based, peer-led organization that is harm reduction based, which means we meet people where they're at, and if they're not ready for recovery today, they're still tomorrow. But we have to make sure they're still tomorrow. When I look at my team of people that I work alongside, I see one thing, and that is survival. We are all able to do the amazing work that we do today because we survived and we got there. I think about my supervisor who mentored me and who helped me to be the person that I am today, Miss Lily Rivera, an overdose survivor herself, whose smile is so infectious. But we don't think about the burden of somebody living with a disease and still smiling every day, just to give somebody else hope that they can smile too. I think of my newest coworker, Carla, who is somebody that we once went to serve and who is now working alongside of us. We are all proof that harm reduction works. I've said this so many times, and I'm kind of tired of saying it, but the opposite of addiction is not recovery, it is not sobriety, it is connection. Overdose prevention centers will give us one more connection to keep people alive, so one day they can feel better. I want to thank our legislators for being a leader in public health and for recognizing that we cannot keep doing the same things and expect different results. Thank you.
Sorry. Shit. Next we have Deborah Harris, who is a Behind the Walls member from DARE, a person and also a person in long-term recovery.
Hi, my name is Debbie. I am a long-term addict, over 30 years. There was a lot of lost family members,
If you step forward a little bit, you'll stop to see that.
There was a lot of family members and friends that I had that OD'd and died, and I thank God that I was the lucky one. It's sad just to think about it, but if there was a program out here back then, you know, the facility where you can go and do your thing and be monitored, it would have stopped a lot of deaths. It would have stopped people from going to prison, losing their children. You know, it would have stopped a lot of things. But I didn't think this would be that sad, speaking on my addiction. I work for DARE, but we don't deal with addiction. And this is something that I need to get comfortable with because I have a lot of stories and testimony. But I think the facility is important to stop deaths. Like this sign, treatment, not prisons, you know, save some lives. It's just sad. So I'm down with this facility, and that's all I really can put together.
All right, next up we have Tara Dorsey, who's a community activist and healthcare worker, and also is an overdose survivor. Tara?
Hi,
hi my peoples, hi my community. I never write anything down when I come speak in public. I just come from the heart. And I do a little research here and there. But one thing I learned is this will not be our first safe house, our first harm reduction station in America. All right? In the 1920s, early 20s, 1914, they had a place, the first place was called the Morphine Clinic. And they supplied the elite, I'm say it like this, white men and white women with opioids, mainly morphine, and needles to do their drugs in a safe area. It wasn't until the Harris Act came in and the methadone clinics came. And the methadone clinics primarily was black people. And that's when the word fiend and junkie and dope fiend came in. And that's when using drugs and opiates became criminalized. You know? So this is nothing new. You know, this is old. We just gotta bring it back up to light. You know, bring it back to the people's eyes and let them see that this ain't new. So just stop acting like it's new. Just stop making it criminalized. Get our brothers and sisters out this place. Because all it is another way to keep people locked up. Okay? And it's simple. Are we ready to save lives or let people keep on dying? It's that simple. You know, we got mothers, sisters, brothers, cousins, aunts, uncles. I OD'd in the prison system, okay? So let's not say there's no such time as clean time in prison, okay? I got high, I smoked drugs in prison, I did dope in prison. So we gotta stop this, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, let's get together, you know what I mean? And pass this bill. It's not too late, and this won't be the first. But this will be the first in Rhode Island in a long, long time. So I thank everybody for coming out here and just repping. It's not easy to stand for this, but you know what? How they say, if we're organized, we're better. If we're divided, we're nothing. So let's get organized and fight a good fight. That's all.
Anita Jacobson.
Hi, thank you for having me. My name is Anita Jacobson. I'm a professor at the University of Rhode Island College of Pharmacy. I'm also a pharmacist practicing in Rhode Island for the last, am I too quiet? Okay. I'm a pharmacist practicing in Rhode Island for the last 23 years, and I've worked a lot with people in substance use disorder space. But it affected me personally back in 2014 when my partner, Aaron, overdosed, a fatal overdose experience from opioids with heroin. And at the time I hadn't had much connection to people who were caught in the cycle of opioid use disorder other than just dispensing medications at the pharmacy. But once, being affected by that and learning more about his story, I came to realize just how few services there were for him. And I really believe if there had been a center like this, he would still be alive today because he didn't have access or didn't know how to access medications like buprenorphine and methadone. And so in desperation to treat his withdrawal symptoms when the price of prescription opioids became too high and he was cut off from access, he snorted heroin, and actually it was his first experience, and he died with that first exposure. So it can happen to anybody, whether they're opioid naive or they've been using substances for many years. And so we need to have a safe place for people to use unregulated substances and get connected to the care and recovery support that they need, so we don't have more families like ours. So thank you.
Our next speaker is Roxanne Newman, who is an overdose survivor and person in long-term recovery.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
How are you? All right, I'm going to read off of my speech because if I don't, I'll go on a tangent. Some of you know what that's like, so it gets ugly. This morning I woke up went to the kitchen and began to brew my coffee as I turned on the news to hear what the weather will be like. I proceeded to pack lunches for myself and my two daughters, Grace, 4 years old, and Angelina, 16 months. After getting myself and the girls dressed, by far no easy task, we loaded into the car and set off to begin the day. During our car ride, we usually sing songs, play games, practice letter memorization, or play I Spy. This is my favorite part of the day. I dropped them off at daycare, but before I left, I kissed them both goodbye, gave them the biggest hugs, reminded them to be kind, but most of all, to do their very best. After all, that's all any of us are really trying to do in life. We're all just trying to do our best. My life's morning routine is a stark contrast to what it once was. A little over 9 years ago, my morning routine consisted of possibly waking up, as sometimes there were days I'd go without sleep. If I did wake up, it was usually in an abandoned building filled with others such as myself. There were no lunches to be made as I had no food, no clothes to change into as I only had the clothes I was wearing. I had essentially been homeless on the streets of Providence for 6 years. My task for the day? Stay ahead of the pain. The pain of withdrawals that would eventually sneak up on me if I didn't obtain heroin in a timely fashion. But most of all, the pain of realizing what had become of my life. The pain of having no hope for the future. The pain of active addiction. I had come accustomed to this life, and though it might sound ludicrous, at the time it was the best that I could do. For a life of unhealed trauma had propelled me to find comforts in the poisons that I knew would eventually kill me. And the drugs almost did. In fact, they almost did 29 times. 29 times I overdosed. I will tell you that out of those 29 times, 28 of them would result in my life being saved, only for me to return back to the streets to live the only life I knew then. But on the 29th time, something happened. Something had changed. I don't believe I'll ever be able to fully explain nor comprehend it. But after the 29th time, I decided to engage in the recovery process. Since that day, I have gone on to build a life worth living. I have two beautiful daughters whose lives were only made possible due to the heroic efforts of 5 paramedics and the use of Narcan that ultimately saved mine. I went back to college to pursue my dreams of a college education, and just last week officially became a PhD student. I work in one of the most prestigious research institutions in the world, in a lab doing exactly what I love with some terrific human beings. I have found peace within my heart. My life is second to none. I am recovering. Today we stand at what is a historic moment in our state, country's, and recovery movement's history. Known for their efficacy and life-saving interventions, science has demonstrated that safe injection facilities are an unparalleled tool in the fight against the overdose crisis. No one who has ever used these facilities has ever died from a drug overdose. Yet they do not come without controversy. Today, we as a community are taking a courageous step forward in combating the true enemy of addiction, stigma. We as a community are moving beyond the archaic beliefs of once an addict, always an addict. We as a community are saying that everyone's life is valuable and worth saving without judgment. We are, as a community, are recovering from outdated, harmful practices and moving forward into new life-giving ones. I want to thank the General Assembly for their courage to move forward and pass this bill. Thank you for doing your sworn duty of serving the people, even the people who appear to be undeserving of service. I want to thank the Super PACs, specifically Haley, AJ, and Lisa, for their tireless efforts to put forth bills that work to save lives, as well as address inequalities within our laws and public policies. I want to thank the researchers and academics, such as Dr. Brandon Marshall, Dr. Alexander Collins, and Dr. Brenda Jacka, who have dedicated their careers to scientifically examining harm reduction interventions, such as safe injection facilities, in order to bring forth the data needed to take this progressive step forward. I want to thank all of you, the outreach workers, the task force, the clinicians, all the recovery facilities, the harm reduction centers, the family and friends who continue to cry out for help for the people who they love who are struggling, and the recovery community for continuing to shout out loud and clear that recovery is possible. Lastly, but most of all, I want to thank those who are still struggling with the disease of addiction. Thank you for getting up every morning, and even though it might not feel like you are, continuing to fight a vicious battle that only someone who has experienced it can truly understand. Thank you for dealing with the constant stigma, hate, and abuse that comes with this disease. And thank you for just being you. Regardless of how you feel right now, we as a community love you. We as a community find value in your life despite what your current circumstances might look like. We as a community want to love you until you can love yourself. I believe safe injection facilities in this bill that will establish the first ever safe injection facility, legal one, in the nation, are a symbol of this love for you. Thank you.
Our next speaker is going to be our House sponsor, Representative Jay Edwards from District 70. True champ.
You know, it's going to be really tough to follow Roxanne. That was such an incredible, incredible story. And that's the whole reason why we want and need harm reduction centers in this country, but starting in Rhode Island. Rhode Island has posted the bill for Friday in the House committee, and it'll be going to the floor with a positive floor vote, hopefully Tuesday. And Rhode Island is well on its way to being the first in the country to legally have harm reduction centers. And it's because of all the people like yourselves that made this happen. Josh Miller and I are the fortunate ones. We get to have our names on the bills. We get to be the face. But the real face of this legislation is everybody who's here and all the people who have gone before you. I had two cousins, both who died of overdoses. And unlike Roxanne, they never got a chance to continue to live their lives. They're gone. They're not forgotten. And one of the reasons why I was the House sponsor of this bill was because of them. I will never forget them, and I will never forget the story of you. 29 overdoses, that's unbelievable. And you're still here, and you're a contributor to our society. That is utterly, utterly amazing. And that's what this whole thing is about. Saving people's lives, getting them back into society, and letting them have a full, fruitful life. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Michelle McKenzie, who is a public health researcher and director of preventing overdose and naloxone intervention.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much. It is an amazing pleasure to be here today and an honor to stand here with friends and colleagues and comrades working hand in hand over the last years to see dramatic change happening in our state. And we've seen change. We've seen really great change, but this year feels precipitous. It feels like that we're going to finally see movement away from a harmful drug war that has been plaguing our nation for decades. And it is so exciting. And this harm reduction center as the speakers before me did so much more eloquently than I'm going to be able to, will provide a place that allows people human dignity, meeting people where they are, and not having expectations that are not realistic for where people are in the moment. We love people where they are and meet people where they are. So we have the Harm Reduction Center, we have buprenorphine decriminalization, We have, oh my heavens, we have defelonization. These are huge. These really are making an indent in truly decades of harm, of criminalizing behavior, which we all participate in, and only some of us get punished for. So I'm thrilled, and I so much thank the Super PAC, AJ, Lisa, and Haley for the amazing work of bringing us all together. Thank you, you guys.
And our last formal speaker is going to be Anna Jane Yolkin, who is the co-chair of the Super PAC and our founder, who's really the mastermind behind all of this happening. You're humble, but I mean, let's be real here, right? Let's be real here. This is the statistician and person who's on hand at Project Weber Renew, who basically drives all of this reform. So, so on down.
Hi everyone. As Haley mentioned, my name is Anna Jane, or AJ. And yeah, I just wanted to echo everything people had said. Really thank every single person who's here, every person who isn't here, every person who can't be here for their working on policies that really uphold people's health, people's dignity, and people's human rights, people's civil rights. Because of everyone's effort and everyone before us, we are working actively on policy that really sees people as full humans, really works on addressing stigma, really addresses racial inequities, and other states that have enacted these policies have seen decreased in racial disparities and things like arrests. And so we are working on this, and we are so grateful for you to be here. If you have any questions about how to get involved, please feel free to reach out to me. And this is only the beginning. There is so much more to come. We are excited to keep on working. So thank you again.